you see it, now you don't. The Blackbird, coast to coast in 1 hour, 8 minutes.
8:41, be advised, sir, the flight will operate late.
While on the ground, conventional airliners experience more and more delays. Ann Richards, candidate for Texas governor, questions about drugs.
NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. If you feel the need for speed, today was one for the record books. An American spy plane about to be retired made a farewell run coast to coast in less time than it takes to show a movie on commercial flights, just over 68 minutes. NBC's Fred Francis tonight on the SR-71.
The SR-71 taxiing for its last cross-country flight. The pre-dawn takeoff generated a sonic boom heard all across Southern California. No airplane ever flew higher, faster, or dodged more missiles than the Blackbird. As a spy plane, it was never intimidated by Soviet air defenses. For 25 years, it took pictures of potential enemy targets with impunity. An object as small as a hubcap, 18 miles below, could be snapped with amazing clarity by its cameras. It is being retired not because it is no longer useful. It was the Blackbird which took the pictures for the raid on Libya, which spotted the Iranian mines in the Persian Gulf. It is being retired because spy satellites are cheaper. Even today, on its final flight from California to the Air and Space Museum in Washington, the Blackbird set four speed records. This remarkable aircraft, which made it from the drawing board to the runway in 3 years, built with a slide rule, not a computer, built from technology 3 decades old, today flew from coast to coast in 1 hour, 8 minutes, 17 seconds.
It's the only Air Force airplane that spent its entire career without an Air Force casualty, both in war and peace. But like every good thing, it must come to an end. So let me say and conclude by saying goodbye to this magnificent, sophisticated flying machine. Bye-bye, Blackbird.
Fred Francis, NBC News, the Pentagon.
Ironically, while that record flight was shooting across America, conventional commercial airline traffic in many cities today was seriously delayed by winter weather. But that's happening more and more now, regardless of the weather. NBC's Robert Hager with the problem of air delays and what can be done about them.
Snowfall was only light today at New York's LaGuardia Airport, but flight delays due to heavy traffic averaged 45 minutes. The airport was living up to its recent record as worst in the country. Passenger Myron Mansfield.
It's just very irritable. You don't know exactly what's happening, and there's no control over it.
Last year, air traffic delays at LaGuardia increased 113%. Increased at Kansas City and Dallas-Fort Worth airports, 38%. Houston, 36%. And at New York's Kennedy Airport, 52%. Traffic congestion across the country is monitored at Federal Aviation Administration headquarters. Each light represents a plane somewhere over the U.S. Traffic delays this year threaten to surpass those of 1986, the worst ever. One solution, build new airports. But in 16 years, Denver is the only major city to persuade voters to approve one. Another solution, convert military airfields to civilian use, such as Pease Air Force Base in New Hampshire. But like most military fields, Pease is not convenient to a major city. It's an hour's drive from Boston. That leaves the possibility of improving present airports to handle more traffic at once. One hope is to add new runways closer together. At Raleigh-Durham Airport in North Carolina, new radar is being tested to permit planes simultaneously to approach 2 runways only 2,500 feet apart. Possible because the radar scans 10 times faster than current radar. If one plane accidentally starts to drift from its course, alarms sound immediately to alert controllers.
Major capacity.
The FAA's Joseph Del Balzo.
Kennedy Airport today, with this technology, would be able to save 8,000 delay hours. That's equivalent to a savings in just the airline operating costs of over $10 million a year.
Cost of the new radar, about $5 million an airport. But installation around the country may still be years away. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
A tremendous blast rocked New York Harbor today when a barge carrying 4 million gallons of heating oil exploded. The blast and resulting fire sent a huge plume of smoke into the sky. It shook the world, said one man who worked in the area. The cause of the explosion was not immediately known. It injured at least one person. It happened in the same part of the harbor where there have been 4 big oil spills in the last 2 months. Another explosion of unknown cause killed at least 3 people and injured about a dozen others in the tiny Colorado town of Crested Butte. The explosion wrecked a 2-story bank building in that ski resort community, and rescue workers are combing the debris for more victims. Also coming up here tonight on NBC Nightly News, Chancellor Kohl gives in on the Polish part of the German reunification equation. And George Lewis tonight, who insists that he has a nose for news, comes up with a story that smells. How smells sell, the marketing tool of the 90s.
I was eating a cheeseburger when I saw I had a runaway car. It was a Maalox moment. Thank heaven Maalox Plus is so strong. Easy boys, she's purring like a kitten.
Maalox Plus, strong relief for all your Maalox moments. And now for your Maalox moments breakthrough news. A big splash of cherry and a burst of mint. New cherry cream and mint cream extra strength Maalox Plus. Now the strongest antacid has terrific new tastes. Strong relief for all your Maalox moments.
Build your dreams of solid things. We'll build tomorrow in. Come home to quality. Come home to Anderson.
Elder statesmen like myself can save 30% at quality, comfort, Clarion, and sleep hotels. Who says a politician can't control spending?
Seniors save 30% by calling 800-221-2222. Restrictions apply.
It appears tonight that a major obstacle to a swift reunification of the 2 Germanys now has been resolved. West German Chancellor Helmut Kohl backed down from his stand on a Polish border controversy. NBC's Mike Betcher.
With the world challenging him and many of his own countrymen embarrassed by his stubbornness, West German Chancellor Kohl relented. He finally agreed that Germany, after reunification, should promise not to seek territory lost to Poland after World War II. Much of Western Poland was part of the old German Reich. The post-war border stands at the Oder and Neisse rivers. Kohl, by not guaranteeing the borderline, had been trying to pacify ultra-nationalists who believed the frontier should be moved back to the pre-war line. Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev, during a meeting with East German Premier Hans Modrow today, said there would be serious consequences if a reunited Germany sought to regain old territories. The Soviet army, which last year had been preparing to greatly reduce its forces in Poland, is now staying at the request of the Poles. Solidarity Prime Minister Tadeusz Mazowiecki said the Red Army is welcome here until all Poles feel secure within their own borders. And in Warsaw tonight, most Poles we asked said they still weren't feeling secure, despite Chancellor Kohl's new pledge. You can't see any goodwill in the Germans, and you can't expect any either, said one skeptical Pole. When it's a question of Germans, I don't believe them, added another. A half-century after the war, many Poles still do not trust their German neighbors. History has taught them how easily pledges are broken. The rest of the world may applaud Chancellor Kohl, but the Poles prefer to remain wary. Mike Betcher, NBC News, Warsaw.
And Italy, Germany's ally during the war, is not happy that it's being shut out of these talks on German reunification. A complaint Italian Prime Minister Andreotti brought to President Bush today in Washington. The Italian Prime Minister told the president that all NATO members should be involved in the marriage of East and West Germany, since more than just the United States, Great Britain, France, and the Soviets will be affected. For his part, the president says that he'll stick with the smaller group of countries working on reunification. The Italian Prime Minister is not the only one criticizing U.S. foreign policy. House Democratic leader Richard Gephardt said today the White House should offer direct aid to the Soviet Union to make sure that reforms in that country succeed. However, the White House said in response, the Soviets don't want direct aid.
Why would a museum add a coffee scoop to their collection of artifacts? Because it's about to become something of a fossil. Introducing new Maxwell House filter packs. It's a better way to wake up. No measuring, no guesswork. It's never been easier to brew a rich, perfect pot of Maxwell House coffee every time. New filter packs, in regular and decaffeinated, only from Maxwell House. A better way to wake up.
To get rid of her gray, my wife can spend 40 minutes. But I discovered the 5-minute hair coloring.
The revolutionary discovery called Just for Men from the leader in men's hair coloring. Simply apply Just for Men and in 5 minutes shampoo out.
Gray is blended away. The look of my natural color is back in 5 minutes. That was me, and it won't fade or wash out.
My hair takes forever, but you look great in just 5 minutes.
The look of your natural color in just 5 minutes with Just for Men.
Give up hot chocolate just because I started wearing dentures?
Heat-resistant Fixodent spreads evenly to keep on fixing the spots, no matter how often it gets hot.
Scab!
Fixodent, and forget it.
Now, Hormel chili and Dinty Moore beef stew also come in single-serve microwavable bowls. It's just that simple.
Doctors today reported they found a small, benign brain tumor in Republican National Committee Chairman Lee Atwater. He was rushed to a Washington hospital yesterday after fainting during a political speech. Sources tell NBC News that Atwater will undergo radiation treatment. He is expected to leave George Washington University Medical Center by week's end. Ann Richards got a lot of attention 2 years ago at the Democratic National Convention with a biting keynote address aimed at George Bush. Now, the Texas state treasurer is making headlines in her own state. She's running for governor, and she's being plagued by a mighty big question. NBC's Jim Cummins.
Poor George.
At the Democratic National Convention, Ann Richards became an instant political sensation, attacking George Bush with the speech.
He can't help it. He was born with a silver foot in his mouth.
Now her political career is threatened by the question.
Have you ever used...
He is expected to leave George Washington University Medical Center by week's end. Ann Richards got a lot of attention 2 years ago at the Democratic National Convention with a biting keynote address aimed at George Bush. Now, the Texas state treasurer is making headlines in her own state. She's running for governor, and she's being plagued by a mighty big question. NBC's Jim Cummins.
Poor George.
At the Democratic National Convention, Ann Richards became an instant political sensation, attacking George Bush with the speech.
He can't help it. He was born with a silver foot in his mouth.
Now her political career is threatened by the question.
Have you ever used illegal drugs?
I have revealed more about my personal life, including my alcoholism and my recovery for 10 years, than any person who has ever run for governor before.
Richards had been the clear frontrunner in the Texas Democratic primary for governor. Her opponents are Attorney General Jim Maddox and former Governor Mark White. They love to answer the question.
I have never used illegal drugs.
I've never used illegal drugs.
And they love to keep asking it.
It has become the biggest question this campaign. Have you used illegal drugs?
But she refuses to answer the question on principle.
We as human beings have a right to draw parameters around our personal life.
Now the newspapers, even the ones that endorsed Richards, are demanding she answer the question.
A lot of people are convinced that she made a serious, possibly even a fatal mistake. I have to assume, based upon the response, that yes, she used them.
Of course, the voters will decide whether it matters.
And the fact that she won't answer has discouraged me from voting for her. I don't think it's appropriate. I don't think it has anything to do with how she would do the job now.
Richards is counterattacking.
I haven't had a mood-altering chemical for 10 years. Have Jim Maddox and Mark White been honest for 10 years?
Should Richards win the primary, the drug issue won't go away. The frontrunner in the Republican primary race is Clayton Williams, a fist-fighting rancher who promises to send drug offenders to work camps.
And I'll introduce them to the joys of busting rocks.
The race among the Democrats is now too close to call. Jim Cummins, NBC News, Dallas.
The federal government reported today that factory orders for manufactured goods last month took their biggest drop in 15 years, tumbling 5.4%. Main reasons, a big drop in orders for airplanes and cars, and an even bigger drop in orders for Army tanks and Navy ships. But postal rates are almost surely going up. As expected, the U.S. Postal Service's Board of Governors voted to add a nickel to a cost of a stamp in this country. making it 30 cents. An independent commission now must approve that, and that could take up to a year. It would be the 15th increase since the 2-cent stamp, remember that one, was introduced 105 years ago. Also going up, healthcare costs in America. That rise has led to new insurance plans to handle Medigap. That's the difference between what government medical plans cover and what senior citizens have to pay. The Senate Select Committee on Aging has found that all too many insurance salesmen filling that gap are unscrupulous. NBC's Henry Champ reports from Capitol Hill tonight.
I think I lost money on all of them. That they cost more than I got back.
What 92-year-old Lois Hibbert is talking about are 7 health insurance policies she bought with an annual $9,000 premium. Policies that were worthless. She was ineligible for the benefits. She says she trusted her agent.
So I really took his word for what he said. Whenever I'd ask him a question, I took it to be an honest answer.
Mrs. Hibbert is only one of thousands of victims, older people very confused about what's covered and not covered by Medicare and Medicaid.
We were taught and stressed to put the fear of God into these senior citizens.
Edward Kodish used to sell health insurance. Now he is in a Florida prison convicted of grand theft and insurance fraud, part of a ring of agents whose specialty was preying on older people.
We used various scams by saying we were investigators from Medicare. I have examples of a Fort Lauderdale woman that was sold 7 policies in 3 months by 4 different agents while she was in a nursing home.
Fearful of the future, thousands of seniors are searching for Medigap policies, privately sold supplemental insurance plans that promise better nursing home care and chronic illness protection. Seniors often answer these mass mail ads promising free health insurance information. What the ads, obtained from Senate investigators, don't say is that those writing in often have their names sold to insurance agents.
Next thing you know, there's a knock on the door of that individual who mailed that reply back, and many times an unscrupulous insurance salesman will walk off with the money.
While the Senate looks at tougher federal regulations, the industry disagrees.
And there are dozens of requirements on the book that will protect the Medicare consumer.
Lois Hibbert disagrees, and she is coming to Washington tomorrow to testify, to tell the senators she and others need more protection. Henry Champ, NBC News, Washington.
We have a milestone to report tonight. The Census Bureau estimated that this country's population reached 250 million today. That's an increase of more than 10% from 10 years ago.
You ready?
Ready.
Drop it!
Why are we doing this?
What you're thinking? That's mutiny.
Right.
Rescue me, or take me in your arms. Rescue me. I want your tender charm.
It's nice.
And I'm blue. I need you and your love too. Come on and rescue me. Come on, baby, and rescue me. 'Cause I need you by my side. Can you see that I love?
So what are you going to tell your sailing buddies when we get back home?
The truth. That we sailed around the Caribbean. We did.
Having everything you need to turn things around. Membership has its privileges.
Red Lobster.
Tonight, try 30 shrimp for just $8.95. Golden fried shrimp. Grilled. Shrimp scampi. 30 shrimp on one plate, just $8.95. Only at Red Lobster. Introducing Red Lobster call-ahead seating. Call us when you're ready to leave, and we'll save you a place in line.
We'll be seating you shortly, Mr. Cole.
You'll spend less time waiting to satisfy the seafood lover in you. New call-ahead seating. Call today.
Even simple motions can strain bladder muscles. If you have a bladder control problem, this is when you need a TENS. The difference? A TENS fit higher to stay in place when you need it most. A TENS gives you protection in motion.
Now we've added clusters to the Almond Delight. We took the almonds and the flakes and we mixed them both up. We added clusters to the almonds and shook them all up. Now Almond Delight has almond, pecan, walnut clusters. Now the best is even better, new Almond Delight.
Afghanistan's President Najibullah appears to be still in control tonight after a violent attempted coup today. Fierce fighting was reported all day long as the defense minister and a band of rebels tried to overthrow Najibullah. The Soviet-backed government, however, said the coup now has failed. For all of the changes going on in the Soviet Union, there is one movement that has gone largely unnoticed. It's a nationalist movement in the largest of the Soviet republics, Russia, about twice the size of the United States without the republics. The people in this movement want to go back to the traditional values of Mother Russia before the Bolshevik Revolution. NBC's Bob Abernathy has more.
Russians trying to rediscover the past they say the communist revolution destroyed. This was not a show for tourists. This was part of a serious week-long celebration by the new Russian nationalist movement.
You cannot throw away history and leave the nation without a memory.
Everything that existed before the revolution should be reborn.
Reborn, beginning with the rivers and the land. The first objective of the nationalist movement is to rescue the country from the pollution of industry and restore old Russia's village life, almost wiped out by communist persecution, collective farms, and the lure of cities. The nationalists also preach a return to Russian Orthodox Christianity, so long defiled by the communists. And not only do they wish to revive their faith and culture, many of them also want to bring back the monarchy. For all its devotion to the best of old Russia, however, the Russian nationalist movement has become sharply controversial because it has released and encouraged raw intolerance. Russian nationalists interpret the independence movements in Lithuania and other parts of the Soviet Union as threats to Russia's empire. Nationalists object to the foreign influence that more trade with the West has brought. And a few nationalists, such as those in the paramilitary group Pamyat, blame the country's problems on its ancient scapegoat, the Jews.
They were the carriers of the revolutionary tendency in our country. They brought it here to achieve some superior position. They were people who committed pogroms on Russian national culture and history.
With his black shirt and badges, Vasiliev is preposterous, but his ideas are widely shared. The anti-Semitism of many Russian nationalists stands in sharp contrast to their stated devotion to beauty and the soul. One cold morning, a small group of nationalists made a pilgrimage through Leningrad to honor some of their heroes. They could find their past, but it's far from clear where their movement as a whole is going. Whether the rebirth of old Russia can lead to a modern democratic economy, and whether nationalists can learn to celebrate their Russianness without remaining intolerant of everyone else. Bob Abernathy, NBC News, Leningrad.
At the same time, the people of Leningrad and Moscow can look forward to another import from what used to be called the decadent West. Time Warner announced today it plans to open American-style multi-screen movie theaters in those cities late next year. And something else. For the first time, Russian audiences will have popcorn.
Jake and Blake awake to Kellogg's Oat Bake.
Jake?
Yes, Angel Cake?
Why is it milk you forsake when you partake of oat bake?
I love Oat Bake straight. Does that aggravate?
No, my little potentate.
May I demonstrate?
How considerate. Raisins, nuts, and spices predominate.
So you appreciate?
Well, I didn't anticipate that a cereal straight would taste so great.
In milk or straight, Oat Bake tastes wonderful.
Huh?
I mean great. Oat Bake tastes great.
First rate.
To find a great new coffee, you could search the quaint back alleys of New Orleans' French Quarter, the gourmet coffee shops of New York's Upper West Side, or the cobblestone hills of San Francisco, and still you won't find a gourmet coffee like Gourmet Supreme, an entirely new Folgers you can get right in your own market. It's rich, mountain-grown Colombian, skillfully blended with select gourmet beans for enticing aroma and gourmet taste that's smooth, well-rounded. And you don't have to search for a gourmet coffee shop.
You really brighten your day when you started out gourmet. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Gourmet Supreme, in the black can, new from Folgers.
Guess why I call my Polident the Big Clean?
Does a big job on denture stains.
Right, but Polident's bigger than that.
It fights denture odor in a big way.
But Polident's bigger. It fights stains, odor, and tartar. Trust the big mouth. Give Polident the Big Clean.
Perrier, the popular sparkling water from France, is going back on the market after a worldwide recall because of contamination. Perrier officials say they have solved the problem, which led to a small amount of benzene in the bottled water. Perrier, of course, was originally marketed as a chic and healthy drink. Well, these days, the people who try to get us to buy things have another angle. You might call it the smell of money. More tonight from the olfactorious George Lewis.
Ask the customers in this bakery, what is it that puts them in a buying mood?
Well, the first thing that hits you is the smell when you walk in. I mean, in the morning when you're groggy and you need a cup of coffee, and you walk in this place and it just knocks you over. It's the best feeling in the world.
Oh, it makes me want to buy things, and it puts me in a good mood.
Shoppers on Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills may not even be aware that smell is luring them into Fred Heyman's perfume shop. There are spritzing machines wafting fragrances all over the place.
Are you trying to manipulate people? Well, absolutely. It would be manipulation, of course. You're making the most of something to enhance the environment.
Studies have shown that odors affect brain waves, that some fragrances stimulate while others are soothing. There's a debate going on among scientists. Can some store or used car lot perhaps hit you with a calming fragrance and overcome your sales resistance? The Japanese, who always have a yen for new ideas, are spending a bundle to find out how smells influence people. A Tokyo construction company has invented a machine that circulates fragrances through office buildings. Employees of this bank are said to work more efficiently because they're surrounded by pleasant odors. Ah, sweet smell of success. There are those in this country who think that sort of manipulation stinks.
I think some people might object to that. There are people very sensitive to scents, and it's sort of taking someone else's airspace, isn't it?
But not all of us can be led around by the nose. At Philadelphia's Monell Chemical Sense Center, researchers say individuals have widely varying responses to the same odor.
So you're never going to have odors that turn things on and off like faucets or switches.
See?
This baby is taking part in a study to find out how good our sense of smell is in early childhood. She plays with two rattles, one scented and one unscented. Her likes and dislikes are observed. Marketing people want to know if memories of pleasant smells from our youth might influence our buying behavior later in life. They are trying to avoid responses like this. George Lewis, NBC News, Los Angeles.
That's nightly news for this Tuesday night. I'm Tom Brokaw. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Up and at 'em, rise and shine. Morning in Houston means work to do, places to go, people to see. And Channel 2 is right there with all the news and weather you need. We'll even tell you which of the freeways might be moving. We're working for you on Channel 2 News today at 6:30. Ooh, that's early.